Welcome back to Steelers Daily. I'm your host, Deke, and Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show today and obviously had some things to say and react to. The main one being that he thinks this is likely going to be his last season as an NFL quarterback. Here's the full quote. Nope, that's not the full quote. This is the full quote from Ian Rappaport. I'm pretty sure this is it. That's why we just did a 1-year deal. Steelers didn't need to put any extra years on that or anything. This was really about finishing with a lot of love and fun and peace for the career that I've had. I mean, I've played freaking 20 years, It's been a long run. I've enjoyed it. What better place to finish than in one of the cornerstone franchises of the NFL with Mike Tomlin and a great group of leadership and great guys in a city that expects you to win. It's valid. It's not a surprise at all. Rodgers is 41, turning 42. He's a 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champ. He's locked in as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's got nothing to prove. Typically, guys in the NFL just any caliber really, don't last till 41 years old. And they're not throwing, if they're a quarterback, 28 touchdowns and 11 picks like Rodgers did last year, even though it was a disappointing season for him. Like he's the outlier. Him, Brady, like Breeze playing into his 40s, Big Ben playing into his late 30s. Did he catch that final season at age 40? I can't remember, but like those dudes are outliers in the history of the NFL. Now, I think it's going to become more and more common as time goes on with the advances in health and technology. But still, like he has every right to call it a career. Every right to. It's very understandable. And the fact, too, I thought another positive from this answer from him is he was just being honest. It looks like he's coming from a place where, as I just mentioned, he's got nothing to prove. He doesn't have, I think he still does have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove the haters and doubters wrong. But like, I don't know. It seems like it's all love, man. Like it's all free flow, and it's all good spirits, good vibes as to why he's playing this last season. You can see in the middle of this tweet here, this was really about finishing with a lot of love and fun and peace for the career that I've had. Just being honest, just being blunt. Yeah, this is probably it. I'm 41, 42 years old. I'm answering your question as best as I can, given the circumstances, the context of the situation right now. I'm old, in football years at least. We only signed a 1-year deal. Good chance this is it. So there's positives from this response, right? As I mentioned, he has every right to call it a career. He's a very accomplished quarterback, one of the greats of all time. Wants to be at peace with his career, wants to go out on a high note. Didn't like how the Jets' tenure went. And the fact that he's just being honest. He's at that point, older player in the league. Usually when guys start to get up there in age, they become a little bit more blunt with the media. They become a little bit more honest in their answers. They're not as much about sugarcoating it. Just like any of our grandparents. When people get old, they're just going to say what they want. They're just going to say what they feel. I think Rodgers is at that point anyway with his NFL career, right? He's up there. I'm just going to be honest. Probably it. At the same time, can I be a little nitpicky here? I don't love the response. And I reacted to this earlier today and had the same reaction. Like, I don't remember hearing some of the other all-time great quarterbacks announce that this is probably going to be their last year going into what subsequently was their last year. Tom Brady, I think all of us could assume. Remember, he retired, then unretired, had some stuff going on with Giselle, potential divorce, family issues going on behind the scenes. I think we all could assume that his last year was probably going to be his last year. Still, he didn't come out and announce it. Peyton Manning, he went out on a good note with that Super Bowl. I don't remember him announcing that it was going to be his last season. Big Ben here in Pittsburgh, Nope. He wanted to play another year. Steelers just weren't having him back. Hashtag the sabotage. If you know, you know. Drew Brees, did he make an announcement? John Elway, and we know he went out with 2 Super Bowls, finished his last season of his career with a Super Bowl, that second one. I don't think he announced it beforehand, though. Dan Marino, even Favre with the waffling of going back and forth between retirement and still potentially wanting to play. I don't think he ever announced before the season of any of those last few years that this is it for me. But Aaron Rodgers did. You found out with the other guys, either it was towards the end of the season or it was after the season and the work was done. Season was over. And I get it. This response by Rodgers, it's not the end of the world. It probably was coming from a positive place, a good place. I'm being nitpicky a little bit here. I don't love the answer right now, though, because it shifts the conversation from this 2025 season being about the 2025 Steelers, solely the team, to a Rodgers farewell tour, Rodgers last ride. And how often do both of those things coincide in a good way? Where you have a team that has championship aspirations, at the same time, a superstar, a legend going out on their farewell tour. It doesn't really work like that. Usually when you have the star on their farewell tour, it's like the team ain't really contending. I think of the NBA, Kobe, D-Wade, Dirk. None of those teams. Kobe's team, Lakers, didn't even make the playoffs. Did the Heat team with Wade and Wade's last season, were they the 8th seed? Maybe. I mean, they weren't threats to win a championship at all. And same thing with Dirk. I think Dirk's last season was like Luka's rookie year. Mavs were competing. With Elway, you found out after he was done. Peyton Manning, you found out after he was done. Those are 2 guys that are like kind of the framework, the aspiration for what Rodgers is trying to accomplish here. If this is going to be his last year, like he said, or like he's hinting to, and that is win a Super Bowl, then you go out. You ride off into the sunset, hitting the highest of highs in your NFL career that you can. And that's winning Super Bowl. Going out on the best high note possible. Elway did that. Manning did that. They didn't announce it beforehand, though. I think Peyton Manning still wanted to play, actually, after that Broncos year, but no one wanted him. Everyone knew his arm was shot. Now, some Steeler fans might try to bring up Bettis because, you know, he went out with the Super Bowl XL ring in Detroit. And I think most knew that was going to be his last year. But I don't remember him announcing it beforehand, although it was very safe to assume it was going to be his last year because, remember, Big Ben had to convince him to come back after that AFC Championship loss in 2004. But, like, there's levels to this. Even if you want to bring up Bettis and how he went out, there's levels to this. Bettis wasn't even our best running back on that team. Willie Parker was the number 1, and I think we still had Deuce Staley. And we had Bettis. I think Bettis ended up being our number 2 guy because we used him in goal line and stuff. But if Deuce Staley wasn't hurt, he probably would have been more of our number 2 than even Bettis. So, like, it wasn't like Bettis was driving the ship here. He wasn't like our number 1 guy, our number 1 leader on offense. It was more like Bettis was the rallying cry for the offense and that Steelers team to try to win a Super Bowl. It was like, do it for Bettis, do it for the bus. Whereas Rodgers, you're the quarterback, you're the leader. The Steelers teammates, Rodgers Steelers teammates right now aren't out here saying, let's do this for Rodgers. No, Roger, you're the quarterback. You're the one that's supposed to be driving this. And y'all just met literally like a week and a half ago. Because that's another thing. Almost got to read the room with the situation. It's not like Rodgers has been here for a decade and a half. You just got here. Maybe it'd be a little bit different if you were here for 10, 15 years and you wanted to do something good for the fans and say, you know, this is going to be my last season. Let's go out with a bang. Everyone come out to these home games. Let's make it a party for all these potential matchups at Heinz Field. But no, you just got here, bro. Like, you just got here. So I don't like the timing. I think it's just a little unnecessary. Trust me, I know I'm being nitpicky with this. I don't like it. Because what's the harm in saying, you know, because if you listen to the interview, Boston Connor was the one that asked him that. He even gave him the out. Like, he he gave him the full question. And at the end of the question, he's like, are you just thinking about taking it like week by week and not really too focused on your future like that? He gave him the out within the question of like, here, you could just respond to how I phrased this at the end here. But he didn't. He said, yeah, this is probably it. Again, just being honest, not the end of the world type of answer, but why couldn't he just said, you know, we're going to take it a week at a time and then figure everything out at the end of the season? Like, what's the harm in that? I think it just made it a little bit more about Rodgers than about the 2025 Steelers than what it needed to be. Because we're, a month away from training camp. Like Rodgers, he hasn't even played a snap with the Steelers just yet. Before you even play a snap in 2025 with your brand new team, and we're talking about it being your last season here. And Rodgers even said he wants to go in to this Steelers situation and wants to serve. He wants it to be about the team. Like that's what he was saying in his introductory press conference. But then you say, yeah, this is probably my last year. That shifts the combo a little bit. It shifts the focus a little bit. Just a touch. I think it would have been a better service if Rodgers did really want to serve the team, just to not let that out, just to keep it status quo, just to keep it cliche. Take it a week at a time. We'll focus on the future when the future happens. Because what's funny, too, is like Rodgers' answer wasn't even definitive. Him saying, I'm pretty sure this is it, it still leaves it a little open-ended, but that goes to my point. Why even give people this content? Why even give people these little breadcrumbs and hints? Like, what's the point? What's the point right now as we sit here, June 24th, month away from training camp? You haven't even suited up for your new team yet. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just getting old. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know. If you would have had me talk about this 5 years ago, maybe I'd be like, this is no big deal. Maybe this wouldn't even be a point of conversation for today's show at all. It would have just went over my head in one ear, out the other. Wouldn't have had a care in the world. But I don't know. Just something about the answer. Something about it just doesn't fully sit right with me. Trust me, I still wanted Rodgers. Like, this doesn't change my opinion on, I think Rodgers still has a really good chance to have a great year with the Steelers. This is going to work out. I did an episode last week about the connection between him and Arthur Smith, how I think the offense is going to be perfect for both parties. Trust me, this doesn't change that. Not at all. It was something, though. It was something. I don't think it's all the way nothing, that answer. But he also talked about Will Howard, Steelers rookie quarterback, 6th-round pick. And I want to bring up a couple quotes that Rodgers had on Howard, because obviously we've been hearing stuff that Rodgers is 100% willing to mentor him. He's all about it, wants to help out the young guy as much as possible. But he even took it a step further today. And I wanted to offer additional reaction to that. Because not only is it about Rodgers looking out for Will Howard, he also said, like, I hope that Howard could become the next guy here. Let me read the full thing. It says, I was impressed by him. Obviously, he worked once the rookies came out in May. Rodgers speaking of Howard. I thought he looked really sharp. He made a bunch of great throws. I think there's definitely some things I can help him with and some things that are different at the pro level. And I'd love to help Will and set him up to have a chance to be the guy for the next who knows how long. I think that's part of the opportunity. It's not the job. You know, I've seen other veteran quarterbacks talk about it, but it's the opportunity to help Will out. That's one that I'm really looking forward to. Also said, I want to help out Will as much as possible. If I can help him become a better player, that would be an incredible achievement. He's such a good kid, and I'm really looking forward to helping him out this season. So, I thought about this. With those comments coming from Rodgers and us drafting Will Howard, him being part of the Steelers team right now, being a rookie, is there a rookie quarterback in a better spot than Will Howard to succeed and be a long-term success in the league right now? If you just look, let's just talk about this rookie class. I want to talk about Will Howard compared to this rookie class and Will Howard compared to other young quarterbacks the Steelers brought in recently. But like this rookie class, all right, you got Cam Ward with the Titans, right? Cam Ward with the Titans, number 1 overall pick, going to get every opportunity for the next 2 seasons to prove that he's the guy. But who's his coach? Who's his roster? But yeah, what are his surroundings on offense? Who's his OC? Like, you're talented, the number 1 overall pick, deserving of the number 1 overall pick. But I'm just talking about like structure and setup to succeed long term. I mean, you could talk about the same thing with Caleb Williams last year. It's the number 1 overall pick. And that's what happens typically with number 1 overall picks, or like really talented quarterbacks coming out of college that are drafted early in the first round. They don't necessarily go to the best of scenarios. Aaron Rodgers, whenever he got drafted by the Packers, he fell the whole, like he was supposed to potentially be the number 1 overall pick. It was between him and Alex Smith. He fell all the way to the Packers. That was a blessing in disguise. I know he was pissed off at the time, but he ended up going to a really good situation for his long-term success. He probably, if you go back, hindsight 2020, couldn't have written it up better for himself. You get to learn behind Brett Favre for 3 years, and then you're with the Packers organization. And we know Packers organization is one of those franchises like the Steelers, like the Seahawks in recent years, probably over the last couple decades, the Seahawks. What other organizations do I want to bring up in terms of NFL success, doing it the right way? Eagles definitely recently over the last 10, 20 years. Like there's a handful of teams where they know what they're doing. They know how to be competitive year in, year out. They know how to not be dumpster fires, essentially. And the Steelers are one of those squads. That's why I'm talking about Will Howard. Titans with Cam Ward, I don't know, man. Caleb Williams with the Bears, I don't know. Now, they made some pivots this offseason, bringing in an offensive head coach, Ben Johnson, upgraded the offensive line. Like, that should help out Caleb Williams. But sometimes the talent, sometimes just who you are as a player coming out of college isn't able to override what your scenario is and what your situation is in the NFL. So Cam Ward, I wish him the best of luck, but I'm just talking about being set up for long-term success. I don't know if that's better than what Will Howard's got right now. I really don't. Tyler Shuck with the Saints. Brand new head coach, Kellen Moore. Offense doesn't have much pop to it. Like, I could see Kamara not being there after this year. Chris Olave, question marks around him with health. After Chris Olave, who's their next receiver? Jalen Milroe. All right, you brought in to be the backup right now to Sam Darnold. But they have a guy in front of you that they just gave a pretty decent contract to and are expecting to be around for the next, like, probably 2 to 3 years, right? Shedeur Sanders, Browns. I mean, Browns is the Browns. Who got drafted by the Eagles? Was it Kyle McCord? Jalen Hurts is their guy, right? I mean, just won a Super Bowl. That's their franchise guy. Will Howard has Aaron Rodgers in front of him right now. And this Aaron Rodgers, where he's at in his career right now, like he's all about passing it on, giving the knowledge to the next generation. You hear how he's talking. I want to help Will Howard. I'm going to help him as much as possible. Don't want to step on toes, but I want him to be a success. I want him to be the guy. It would be a great achievement for me. So Will Howard has Aaron Rodgers, who is likely only going to be here for 1 year, willing to pour all of his knowledge into him. And then, like, he's going to be gone. Like, it's not like Rodgers is going to be here for 2, 3, 4 years and, like, Howard's future a little bit more uncertain about, like, the potential of being a starter if he's ever going to really get a chance. Like, you're going to get a chance next year. There's, like, a 95% chance, even though Rodgers said, like, I'm pretty sure. Like, the door's a little bit open. It's most likely Rodgers isn't going to be back. Now, if Rodgers lights it up and everything, I'm saying the door should be open for both sides. If Rodgers lights it up, 30-plus touchdowns, single-digit picks, we go on a playoff run. Now, if Rodgers just wants to call it a career, that's fine. That's his prerogative. But Steelers should definitely be open to bringing back Rodgers. But, I mean, worst-case scenario for Will Howard, and I wouldn't even say it's a worst-case scenario. You got another year. You would have another year after this one of learning under Aaron Rodgers. But, like, all right, Rodgers is here for 2 years. That would be like, so I guess worst case scenario for Will Howard's starting chances, we'll say. Wouldn't be a bad scenario at all. How many times do quarterbacks sit behind a guy for a veteran for a couple years, and it works out just fine. Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees with the Chargers. I talked about the Aaron Rodgers scenario already. Jordan Love with Aaron Rodgers. So that wouldn't be the end of the world for Howard. But most likely he's going to get a chance after his rookie year. Learn behind Rodgers. Like, come on. And Rodgers is like more than willing and wants to help you. It's not the Brett Favre scenario that Rodgers had to deal with, that a lot of young quarterbacks have to deal with a veteran, where they're like, yeah, it's not my job to mentor. Rodgers wants to be a mentor. He knows the writing's on the wall. He's about to call it a career. He wants to pass on his knowledge. And then Will Howard was drafted to the Steelers. I guess the other thing, you want to talk about structure, foundation, all that stuff. We know how to not be a dumpster fire, at least. And we actually have a competent offensive coordinator this time around for a young quarterback in Will Howard. We didn't have that in the past for Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, or whenever, Ben ended up retiring. We still had Matt Canada here. So like, that's another thing. Will Howard has the Steelers organization, Steelers structure, Steelers continuity, Aaron Rodgers for his rookie season, willing to mentor and pour into him. And then he's most likely going to be gone after this year. So year 2, Howard's going to have a chance to start. There's going to be competition, but I mean, I'll tell you what, you don't think he's going to have a leg up on whoever we bring in here after learning a year under Aaron Rodgers and being in the system? I would bet my money on Will Howard to get a chance to start for that 2026 season over whatever quarterback we draft in 2026. I think Will Howard will get first crack at it. I truly do. He's going to be a year in the system, learn under Aaron Rodgers. I mean, and he's got that championship pedigree. He's got all the talent in the world, I think, at least. I know people don't think he's got great arm strength, but he's got size, he's got mobility, championship pedigree, good leadership. Is there a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback out there that is set up in a better spot to succeed long-term than Will Howard? I don't know, man. I really don't know. Yeah, Howard's got a good thing going here. I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. One more thing before I get up out of here. Just want to go over some Jalen Ramsey trade news from Adam Schefter. He said Pittsburgh checked in. I'm not sure that Pittsburgh's going to be the destination. In fact, if I had to guess, I would say Pittsburgh's not going to be the likely destination. I think when you're trying to figure out a home for Jalen Ramsey, 2 teams that make sense, and we'll see how it plays out, would be both in Los Angeles, be it the Chargers or the Rams. I know people have brought up the Rams, and the Rams just continue to float around out there. It would have to work out financially for both sides. Albert Breer says, yes, I'd say the Dolphins are past the point of no return on Jalen Ramsey, or it is at the point where at the very least it's going to be really difficult to put the toothpaste back in the tube. I'd bet a trade will happen at the doorstep of camp. So it looks like the timeline is before training camp if a Jalen Ramsey deal gets done. Adam Schefter, I like the Schefter report here that at least we checked in. I think that further validates the dog burners Twitter that we talked about from last week. We got Schefter saying that Pittsburgh checked in. So all right, we're doing our due diligence for sure, like legit. They're still saying it's unlikely. I don't know, man. I just, that whole West Coast thing, I don't know how much it really plays in. Sure, Jalen Ramsey's preference could be a West Coast team, could be the Rams or the Chargers. But it's like if the Steelers give a better offer, I don't think Ramsey's going to be like, no, I don't want to play in Pittsburgh. If Steelers are giving up a 4th-round pick and LA, Chargers or the Rams or the 49ers, one of these West Coast teams are only offering a 6. Dolphins don't want to do that. Dolphins are saying like, listen, man, we'll do this Steelers deal. What do you think? I don't think Ramsey's going to say no. I don't think that's going to be the sticking point. Omar Khan, he's chilling. He's chilling. He's waiting. He's patiently waiting. He's working while he's waiting. That's that Tomlin quote. Work while you wait. I think that's, yeah. Omar Khan being patient. He's checking out the landscape. Not pulling off any moves that don't make sense, that are bad for the Steelers. But you're seeing what's out there. I said we do it. Like man, The talk about the Aaron Rodgers being his last year, Steelers trying to be all in 2025. We're going to get this TJ Watt deal done. Come on, bro. Just add a Jalen Ramsey on defense. Add another receiver on offense. And we'll talk a little bit receiver tomorrow, actually, because I wanted to – someone brought up some Roman Wilson to Randall Cobb comparisons for an Aaron Rodgers offense. Wanted to talk about that a little bit. So, yeah, we'll save that for tomorrow. I'll be back 6 p.m. per usual. Hope you guys enjoyed. Here we go, Steelers. Peace.